A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us for this weekly media briefing. I do have one announcement, and then we can go ahead with the question. The announcement relates to an advisory for Indian nationals in Niger. The government of India is closely monitoring ongoing developments in Niger. In the light of the prevailing situation, Indian nationals whose presence is not essential are advised to leave the country as soon as possible. They may bear in mind that airspace is currently closed. When departing through a land border, utmost precautions may be taken to ensure safety and security. Those who may be planning travel to Niger in the coming days are also similarly advised to reconsider their travel plans until the situation normalizes. All those Indian nationals who have not registered with the Indian Embassy in Niamey are strongly advised to do so expeditiously. Indian nationals can reach emergency contact in the Embassy of India, Niamey, at the number +227 9975 9975 for any assistance. We will also be issuing this advisory on our social media platforms shortly. May I now take over questions? Yeah, Siddhant, I'll start with you.
Hi, Sam. Siddhant from Beyond. My question is on China. China recently used water cannons against a Philippines boat. What's India's reaction to this aggressive action by China? And secondly, also, China has been opposing the usage of Vasudev Kutumbakam in
You're starting two questions, but anyway.
In the G20 documents. What has been the Indian reaction? Is it true, or why China is opposing?
Okay. Yeshi?
This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. The US security minister is in Delhi.
US.
UK, sorry, British. I stand corrected. The UK security minister is in Delhi, and he met with Dr. Jaishankar yesterday. And he has said that 95,000 pounds will be invested for security, wherein they will counter pro-Khalistani supporters. So what does this entail? Meaning, what is this? What are the talks about? What are they going? Have they talked about what they do?
Kalol?
Kalol from the Hindu. There is a big rally by the BNP that's currently going on in Dhaka, and there is a lot of pressure growing on Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for going for a caretaker formation before the election. There is also a talk that this sort of a pressure and confrontational politics between BNP and Army League may actually lead to a third-party intervention, and that also includes the military. There is a newspaper column that has appeared in the last few days about that.
It's from your opinion now. It's okay.
So I would really like to know what is really India's thinking right now in this critical moment in Bangladesh's history.
Fair enough. Anybody else? Yeah, Ayushi, I'll come to you in a second. Later.
So Ayushi Agarwal from NI. So just to add on to that UK minister's visit here, was there any discussion or assurance given by him regarding our mission safety in our High Commission in London ahead of our Independence Day? Because we have seen in the past such extremist actions done by them.
Okay. Last round here. Yeah.
Thanks. Alex Trevelli with the New York Times. Two questions about the BRICS in South Africa coming up starting on the 22nd. First, what is India's position on new membership of the BRICS? What countries might be considered and for what purposes? And secondly, what other objectives does India have with this BRICS summit a few weeks before the G20 here?
Okay, thank you. Let me take from Siddhant. Your query was on the incident in South China Sea. Look, on this one, I think we have mentioned a few times what we have a long-standing position on this, on the need to adhere to the international law in the context of issues relating to South China Sea, and also for a rules-based order. We have also underlined the need for peaceful settlement of disputes, and I think that's what we would reiterate related to your query. As regards, you also asked, but that's a separate query, I think, about Vasudev Kutumbakam. There was a story, I think you opened to a media report. I wouldn't like to comment on that media report in itself, but let me just say that the working language of the G20 meetings is English. As you're aware, the theme of our G20 presidency in English is One Earth, One Family, One Future. This is based on our civilization ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which has received widespread support and permeates many of the initiatives that India has brought onto the G20 agenda. And this also finds reflection in the G20 logo, which has the words in Sanskrit as well as in English. So I would just leave it at that. Yeshi, and I think Ayushi, you also had indirect query on that. Yes, you would have seen from External Affairs Minister's tweet, there was a meeting of UK Minister of Security, the Junior Minister of Security. He was in Delhi. He had one of his engagements was with the External Affairs Minister, although this is not a visit where we are the primary hosts. I think EM has indicated the broad contours of the conversation that he had with the visiting minister. I don't want to clarify that any further. You raised the issue of security. Of course, this is an ongoing conversations that we have with the UK side on steps that we feel that the UK side and all host governments need to take to protect our diplomatic premises and security of our personnel. And in the context of 15th of August, you mentioned, yes, of course, we always have additional measures that we request, but in this case, in some cases, we've seen some threats. But I don't want to discuss security measures in per se with in public. You had mentioned, Yeshi, about some announcement of some additional funding. But look, this is an announcement by them for their own internal thing. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to comment on it. Perhaps you should check with them what they mean and how they will spend it. Certainly, we have been emphasizing the need for the UK side to take action against extremists and radicals, particularly those who are inciting violence and posing a security threat. Kalol, your query was on developments in Bangladesh. I had, I think, spoken on it last week or the week before that. Look, I don't have really any particular comment on internal developments there. On the issue of caretaker government, the Constitution has a position on it, and we haven't really commented on that. I don't have anything for you on that specifically. I wouldn't like to get into speculation of third parties, military interventions. Certainly those are speculative. And we would hope the elections are held peacefully as they are being scheduled. Alex, your queries were on BRICS. You were not here last week. I spoke at length on BRICS expansion, about the criteria, procedures, etc., that the leaders had mandated from the last BRICS summit. Discussions are underway, the Sherpa level certainly, and otherwise on what could be this and what the criteria could be. Certainly, we are approaching this with a very positive mind and a positive framework, and let's see what the summit brings out in that process. I had also rejected some insinuations that India was against such expansion. We had said that's simply not true, and I'll repeat that. As regards what else we're expecting from the summit, I think this is an organization that we've, of course, been participating right from inception, and this is something that we believe adds value. But I think I'll wait for, we usually have a more detailed briefing on Prime Minister's visit, and why don't we leave it for that for more detailed queries. For the moment, I'll stop here. Anybody else on the questions? Okay, please. I'll come back to you.
So Sridhar from the Asian Age and Deccan Chronicle. Could I know if Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping have confirmed their participation for the G20 summit?
Specifically those two, generally?
Specifically
those two, okay. Sudhi, you had a hand up? Yeah, Sudhi.
So, Shruti Ranjan from Bloomberg. I wanted to know, we've been picking up that China has kind of given visas to Indian journalists in Beijing. Do you have any information on that? And subsequently, has India therefore changed or is reconsidering issuing visas to Chinese journalists to work in India?
Yeah. First, Vishal.
सर मैं विशाल पांडे हूँ जी न्यूज़ से। नाइजर में अभी कितने भारतीय फंसे हुए हैं और उनको बाहर निकालने के लिए क्या सरकार की तरफ से भी कोई विशेष योजना बनाई जा रही है?
जी, अभिषेक.
Sir, my question is regarding Pakistan's cricket.
Just introduce yourself for the record.
Okay, sir, I'm Abhishek Jha from CNN News 18. My question is regarding Pakistan cricket team's upcoming visit to India. They have raised some security concern and they have said that they have approached Indian authorities as well. So, do you have any details of what kind of security concerns they have and what kind of arrangement they have sought?
Okay. Thank you. Neeraj, you had a query? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll take this lot. Oh, you had a query. Sorry, Mr. Rishabh.
Hi, sir. Rishabh from Times Now. So, Bilawal Bhutto, Pakistan's foreign minister, in his exit press conference before they dissolved the National Assembly on 9th, made some comments on India, saying that his visit to India during SCO compelled India to go virtual in the SCO Leaders Summit, saying that if the Pakistan Prime Minister was here, would have been a concern for India. This was the statement made by Bilawal Bhutto. So how do you react to it? And furthermore, he has also said that we do not mix sports and politics, and that's why we are sending the cricket team to India to go to India and defeat India in India. This is the Foreign Minister's statement.
Okay. You want me to say what to that? That wasn't a question, really.
First one, that
Okay, the first part. The other part.
With the Sri Lankan government, and any other details you can give us about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me try to take some of these questions. I'll probably take a Pakistan cricket team. I see that has some degree of interest, but before that, perhaps your query was on the security concerns, and your question was something about related to that. Look, we have seen these reports regarding Pakistan cricket team's participation in the upcoming ICC World Cup to be hosted by India. I think the question was from, Abhishek, I think your question was, sorry. In the upcoming World Cup to be hosted by India, Pakistan cricket team will be treated just like the cricket team of any other country participating in the ICC World Cup. As regards security issues, I think the question should be better directed towards our security agencies or the organizers. Of course, we would hope that all necessary security will be provided not just to them but all other participating teams. Regarding Rishabh, your queries also related to Pakistan. Look, I think on the SCO summit, I think we have spoken, I think, more than 2 or 3 occasions, the different factors that led to virtual SCO, organizing the SCO summit in a virtual mode. It would be certainly presumptuous of anyone to think that one factor or one person would have had a role to play in that. I'll leave it at that. And on the sports part, as I said, that's his comment. I hope there's a good match, and I hope this is not a war, as it seems to be made out to. Sridhar, regarding your query on participation and confirmation, I'm happy to say when we are in a position to do so, we will certainly share details. You may want to ask their governments whether they are coming or not. It would be a better place for the visitors to respond to whether they're coming. As I said, we have invited all the participants and we look forward to their participation. विशाल, आपका प्रश्न था निजेर पे. मैंने अभी जैसे अभी हमारे एक एडवाइजरी हमने दी, हमारे जो बाकी भारत के नागरिक वहाँ हैं, पर आपका प्रश्न था कितने हैं, कितने लोग हैं. देखिए, करीब 250 लोग, 250 भारतीय नागरिक हमारा अनुमान है, पर हम चाहेंगे कि जो अभी वहाँ हैं उन्होंने रजिस्टर नहीं किया हो एम्बेसी के साथ तो वो कर लें. हमारी एम्बेसी नियामे में जो है वो लगातार संपर्क बनाए रखे हुए हैं इंडियन कम्युनिटी के साथ, और हमें बताया गया है कि वो सुरक्षित हैं, और हमारी एम्बेसी उन लोगों को जितना सहायता दे सकती है उनके डिपार्चर और उनका एग्ज़िट देश से फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए उसका प्रयास कर रही है. और हम चाहेंगे कि जो भारतीय नागरिक जिनको कोई असिस्टेंस की ज़रूरत है वो हमारे एम्बेसी से संपर्क करें, ताकि अगर कोई हम फैसिलिटेट कर सकें तो कर पाएंगे. पर यह भी कहना चाहूँगा कि एयर स्पेस बंद है और लैंड रूट से जाना उतना आसान नहीं है, पर हमारी तरफ से हमेशा की तरह हम नागरिक कोई फंसा हुआ है तो उनको हम ज़रूर मदद करेंगे. Sudhi, your question was against journalist visas. Look, as I said, I won't get into individual cases of visas. We would hope that China ensures circumstances that allow our journalists to report, to stay there and report. And we have been in contact with the Chinese side on this issue. I have not received any particular information about any understanding in this regard. Suhasini, your question was again on a Chinese warship. Again, I've seen reports of a Chinese ship there. I'm not sure whether it is a warship or not. I will only say that having seen these reports, I would emphasize the government carefully monitors any development having a bearing on India's security interests and takes all necessary measures to defend them. Any other questions? Yeah, Smita.
Smita Sharma here. Just wanted to check, baby Ariha's parents have said that they were summoned yesterday and told that basically all the visitations have been cancelled as there is no one to pick and drop Ariha. Also the toys that they got for her from India during the last visit, all of them have been returned. Any thoughts on that? So
One second. Anybody else in a question? Otherwise, Suhasin, you can have a second one. Yeah.
Right. Since you were speaking about the Indians in Niger, I wanted to actually ask the converse story about Sudan.
Yeah.
There are about 600 to 700 Sudanese nationals who were stranded in India after the civil war broke out on April 15th because most of them had come for medical care in India and now can't return, don't have recourse to funds back home. Don't have any status
Funds,
here.
okay.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Is the MEA assisting them in any way? Is there visa concern? Are there visa extensions being given? And is the Sudanese embassy asking for any other kind of assistance?
Okay. Okay, if there are no further questions, I could, yeah, okay, Manish.
This is Manas from PTI. This question was asked by somebody earlier. This is relating to the escalation of tension between Philippines and China in the South China Sea. So overall, in fact, is it concerning for India because we have a lot at stakes in the South China Sea. We have oil exploration blocks in South China Sea, close to the Vietnamese part of the South China Sea. So how do you see this situation? Because China is hardening its position. Philippines is also reacting very strongly. Is it concerning for India, the overall situation?
Okay, anybody else? If not, okay, thank you. May I request cell phones be turned off? It would be helpful. Okay, I'll wait for you to close it. Thank you. Smita, regarding your question on the Indian baby in Germany, I don't have a specific update on that. I would also hesitate to talk on specific developments in a legal case for privacy and other requirements. But as we had mentioned earlier, we continue to remain engaged with German authorities on this case. Let me reiterate that we believe that the child, who's currently in foster care, as you mentioned, is being denied her cultural rights and her rights as an Indian citizen. We will continue to press the German authorities for early return of the child to India. We are in touch with our embassy is in touch also, and I think the parents also are in touch with Indian officials from time to time. This is an issue that we attach priority to. Suhasini, on Sudan, as you are aware, regular flights to Sudan remain suspended since the violence broke out now a few months ago. There is very limited air connectivity, and whatever is there is through chartered flights between Port Sudan and nearby destinations. We are aware that some Sudanese nationals in India, medical perhaps and education, etc., are not being able to return to Sudan due to this situation. We are exploring various options for their stay while they're here, as well as repatriation. We are in touch with the Sudanese embassy in Delhi in this regard, and of course, whatever assistance we could do, we will certainly try to extend that. Manush, your question is a little broader. I am in no position to feel that this is escalation or whether we're worried. Let me emphasize where we are on the South China Sea developments. We've always felt that the issues need to be resolved, disputes peacefully, the rules-based order, and we would certainly urge parties to follow that, as well as ensure that there is no such, these incidents do not happen. I mentioned specifically, I've already made a comment regarding the need to adhere to international law. I think I'd leave it at that. Thank you all for joining us for this briefing. Good afternoon.